Good evening. With a look at Radio Cayman's local news, I'm DIONNE ANGLIN. The Chief Medical Officer, Dr. John Lee, reports that 489 COVID-19 tests have been carried out since this was last reported on Monday, December 14th, 2020. All were negative. The number of people in isolation, either at a government facility or in their homes as required by the Medical Officer of Health, is 1,435. The United Kingdom has opted to draft but not enact an order in council regarding the introduction of public registers of beneficial ownership information in the overseas territories. Details from Radio Cayman's Carsley Fuller.
Cayman's government says it acknowledges the progress made by the UK's OTs in regards to beneficial ownership. Minister for the European Neighbourhood and the Americas noted that by introducing publicly accessible registers of beneficial ownership, the OTs are showing that they are responsible jurisdictions and a collaborative partner to the United Kingdom. In response to that, and quote, in light of the firm commitments from all the inhabited overseas territories to adopt publicly accessible registers, the United Kingdom government has decided that it is now not necessary to make the order under Section 51, but will, quote, keep this under review. A statement from Cayman's government says the UK and its OTs jointly recognize the work that must be done to create PRBOs that sufficiently, robustly, and effectively increase transparency in line with evolving global standards to continue combating international financial crime. Cayman's government has reaffirmed its 2019 commitment to introduce PRBO in line with evolving international standards and global best practice. Reporting for Radio Cayman News, I'm Carsley Fuller.
The Cayman Islands Fire Service replaces and expands its domestic firefighting fleet to support efforts needed in any emergencies.
We've received 4 rapid intervention vehicles. 3 of them are to be based in Grand Cayman and 1 is being sent to Cayman Brac. There are also 3 tankers. They are to be based in Grand Cayman with an additional tanker on order for delivery next year for Cayman Brac, as well as the other loader vehicles to support stationary operations, the pump loader.
Minister for Home Affairs, the Honorable Tara Rivers, says they continue to recognize the value and importance of state-of-the-art equipment to make those life-saving interventions.
Throughout the course of this term, we've had a number of investments, significant capital investments, and ensuring that the safety of our community and also the safety of our fire officers are paramount for this government's administration.
Fire Service Chief Paul Walker says replacing the 15-year-old tankers with the new state-of-the-art equipment is a fantastic move for the country. What he's really excited about is their rapid intervention vehicles.
That's a new way of firefighting. That's a first attack appliance with high-pressure hose reels. Given the congestion that we see here at many times of the year on the Cayman Islands, some of the smaller roads, the approach with large tankers and ladders can now be supplemented with a first attack fire appliance, which A, should get there quicker, and B, provide the firefighters with a real high pressure spray which reduces water damage and cools the fire more rapidly.
The 3 tankers cost $632,734 each, while the 4 rapid intervention vehicles each cost $271,711. The Cayman Islands Fire Service has already developed a disposal plan for the old vehicles that includes auctioning some vehicles to local bidders for parts, reallocating others for special jobs such as landfill fires, and resale to international bidders. What repercussion will our island face if we lose mangroves? Well, Radio Cayman's Felicia Rankin-Salins has the details.
There's a lot, actually. The obvious one is the problem with hurricane protection. Remove them, there's no protection.
Martin Keeley, Education Director of the Mangrove Action Project, warns that loss of our mangroves will have a devastating domino effect, not just on our islands, but the global climate.
Then you've got a situation where there's a carbon sequestration, where several mangroves have been researched and actually provide at least double or triple the amount of sequestration that the regular mangrove forests do, and also 5 times the amount that the rainforests do. So you would not only lose that, you would release it into the atmosphere, and therefore you would contribute to escalation of climate change.
It would have heavy negative impacts on our sea life.
Then you've got a situation where you would lose your fishing. Something like 80% of the fish that you find in the reef areas and around the coast, they spend their nursery lives in the protection of mangroves. For example, if you look at North Sound, the nutrients from the central mangroves that flow into North Sound essentially establish the entire intricate ecosystem. They're interdependent on the nutrients, the microorganisms that flow into North Sound and feed the entire food chain all the way up to the stingrays, the reef, etc. So you lose that nutrient base and your food chain will collapse.
Which in turn can cause a crash in the tourism industry.
And so where goes your tourism? Because if you don't have Stingray City and it's a tourist product, what are you going to have left? And you would lose a lot of the dive industry attraction because you wouldn't be seeing the different species. Because if you start to destroy the ecosystem that supports the ecological economics of tourism, then you're going to make a big hole in the tourist product. And just because we have a few hundred more condos, when they're all finished, if there's no mangroves left, who are you going to sell them to?
For Radio Cayman News, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
If you would like to learn more about the Mangrove Action Project or to join Mangrove Rangers, email info@caymanmangroverangers.ky. Winners have been announced for Cayman's first home energy efficiency competition organized by the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure along with Caribbean Utilities Company Limited, CUC. Here's Radio Cayman's Adelaide Walton with more.
The competition was a part of Energy Cayman, the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure's 12-month public education campaign to embed knowledge of energy-efficient practices into the Cayman community. This campaign was launched to help meet the goals of the National Energy Policy, which includes 70% of electricity generation from renewable sources by 2037. Over 800 entries have been received for the Home Energy Efficiency Makeover competition. The winners of the energy audits, worth up to $1,900 each, were also gifted an ecobee smart thermostat from CUC. Following an RFP process, Caymanian-owned company GreenTech Solar has been hired to perform the energy audits during the month of December. GreenTech will analyze the 8 homes and determine where and how energy is being lost, what systems are operating inefficiently, and recommend improvements that can be made to substantially lower utility bills. From the 8 winners of the energy audits, 1 will be chosen to win the grand prize of a home energy makeover worth up to $20,000. The grand prize winner is set to be chosen next month, with the full retrofit taking place subsequent to the selection. Cayman National Bank will offer a special energy loan worth up to $20,000 for those persons who are not selected for the top prize of the full retrofit. Loan benefits will include interest-free periods, waived setup fees, and low rates. For Radio Cayman News, I'm Adelaide Walton.
Thank you, Adelaide. And there's no doubt social media plays a big part in many of our lives. And while it helps us connect with family and friends, experts say it can also be damaging to our mental health. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
Jane Pernado-Ehrman is a behavioral health specialist for the Cleveland Clinic. She says it's easy to feel a range of emotions when you're on social media, everything from jealousy to anger.
When we are on social media, it isn't always the healthiest kind of connection. Given COVID, given the politics and the stressors going on for all of us in our individual lives, we can find ourselves scrolling and being triggered by upsetting things that are posted.
She says if you find yourself getting upset or constantly checking your news feed, you might want to consider taking a break. In fact, research shows if you limit your time on social media to no more than 30 minutes a day, your mood can actually improve.
I think when we say, okay, I'm going to check social media at this time of the day and keep it to that, and not check it first thing in the morning, and not check it every time they have a break, so that they have some regulation to their day and their time. I think that's helpful.
Of course, that can be easier said than done, so you might want to try putting your phone in another room for a while to reduce temptation. For Radio Cayman Health News, I'm April Cummings.
And that'll take us out of Radio Cayman's local news. I'm DIONNE ANGLIN.